Abuja is a very funny place. In this city, reality and imagination are living in the same compound, but they are not on speaking terms. Someone can be squeezing into a Danfo at the Dawaki junction in the morning, wrapper still smelling of yesterday, but by afternoon, Instagram will show that same person inside a rooftop lounge in Maitama, champagne glass tilted just so, face glowing like they have never seen suffering. Abuja does not stress itself with explanation. If your picture looks expensive, people will respect you. Nobody is checking if the life is real or borrowed. Nobody is asking who owns the bag. Nobody is investigating the apartment. As long as the filter is correct and the caption sounds grateful, you are winning. Dami's page was doing exactly that kind of work. Her Instagram was shining like a generator that never runs out of fuel. Every post was an event. One day it was a mirror selfie inside what looked like a penthouse bathroom, marble everywhere, gold taps, soft lighting that made her skin look like it had been personally negotiated with God. The caption said morning gratitude. Some things money cannot buy. The bathroom belonged to a hotel on Muhammadu Buhari Way. Dami had been inside it for 4 minutes and 23 seconds before the receptionist started looking at her funny. The next post was a flat lay, a structured handbag with a logo so big it had its own ego, sitting on a white surface next to a glass of something that looked like it cost more than sense. The bag belonged to Zainab. The drink was water with a slice of lemon that Dami had arranged herself. The surface was a restaurant table in Maitama where the only thing they ordered was still water at 9,500 naira a bottle. Then there was the outfit post. Dami in a fitted deep burgundy dress that held her figure like it had been briefed in advance, a long sleek black lace front wig falling past her shoulders in the kind of smooth dramatic wave that made women pause mid-scroll, oversized dark sunglasses that covered half her face and somehow made her look more expensive, not less, and heels that added 4 inches and subtracted all doubt. The caption read, "She is not lucky. She is disciplined. She is the assignment." 1,200 people saved that post. 3 people sent it to their husbands without comment. After that was a video. Dami walking slowly through what appeared to be a hotel corridor, cream walls, soft carpet, the kind of quiet that only exists when someone else is paying for the building. She was wearing a silk-looking blouse tucked into wide-leg trousers, the structured handbag on her forearm, her chin at the precise angle of a woman who had just closed a deal and was thinking about the next one. The song underneath it was something slow and expensive sounding. The comments said things like "the walk alone is a whole vision" and "Abuja women are not your mates" and "Auntie, what moisturizer are you using because your skin is reporting for duty?" Her followers believed every pixel of it. 47,000 people were watching a story that Dami was writing in real time, editing as she went, borrowing props from everyone around her, and filing from a mattress in Dawaki that had a dip on the left side where the foam had finally given up. They watched her marble floors and her hotel corridors and her business lunches in Maitama and said to themselves, "That is the life. That is what God can do." They wrote things like, "Auntie, you are my motivation and this is the life I'm manifesting" underneath photos that Dami had taken in a hotel lobby she had snuck into, edited for 45 minutes, and posted from a compound where 9 tenants shared one bathroom. They believed the penthouse. They believed the handbag. They believed the discipline and the assignment and the morning gratitude. They saved her photos as prayer points and sent her DMs asking how to start their own soft life journey, and Dami answered some of them thoughtfully, which was the cruelest part, because the advice she gave was real even if the life was not. That was how Dami became a soft life queen without a soft life. And that was how it was always going to catch up with her. If you have ever wondered how far a person can stretch a lie before it snaps, stay with this story. Because what happened to Dami will make you rethink everything you see on your timeline tonight. The 47,000 did not know about the mattress. They did not know about Momo Bello, who enforced the compound bathroom queue in Dawaki every morning with the authority of a high court judge and the patience of someone who has seen every excuse a human being can manufacture before 7 a.m. They did not know about Alhaji Su, the landlord, who knocked 3 slow deliberate knocks and did not care about follower counts. They did not know about the borrowed wig, the borrowed bag, the borrowed heels that were half a size too small, or the restaurant water that cost 9,500 naira a bottle that Dami split 3 ways with her friends just so they could sit somewhere expensive long enough to take photographs. They did not know any of it. And for 2 years, that was exactly how Dami needed it. But here is the thing about a life built on borrowed things, somebody always comes to collect. The morning everything began to unravel started exactly the way all of Dami's morning started. With a lie, a hotel lobby, and 37 photographs of a marble sink that did not belong to her. She was standing on Muhammadu Buhari Way, heart going faster than she would admit, pretending to wait for someone who did not exist. Her phone was raised. The angle had to be right. The light had to fall a particular way. She had 4 minutes before the receptionist started looking at her differently, and she was spending every second of them. 37 photos later, she slipped back out into the Abuja heat, sunglasses on, chin lifted, walking like a woman who had somewhere important to be. She got the shot. She always got the shot. And for one brief moment, standing on that pavement with her phone warm in her hand and 37 perfect lies saved to her camera roll, she felt it, that specific electricity that had started this whole thing 2 years ago. The feeling of possibility. The feeling of being seen as the woman she intended to become rather than the woman she currently was. It lasted maybe 30 seconds. It always lasted about 30 seconds. Then her stomach growled and she remembered she had not eaten since yesterday afternoon, and the 30 seconds ended. She had nowhere to be. But her page would tell a different story by evening, and in Abuja, the story on your page is the only story that gets told at dinner tables and in office corridors and in the comment sections where 47,000 strangers decide what kind of woman you are. What Dami did not know, could not have known, walking away from that hotel lobby with 37 photos and an empty stomach, was that today was the day a crack would appear. Small at first. The kind you can still paint over. But cracks in Abuja, like cracks in old compound walls, have a way of spreading when you are not looking. Dami lived in Dawaki. Not the Dawaki that people mention casually in conversation, the one with the new estates and the paved roads near the airport. The other Dawaki. The one with thin walls and a compound that housed 9 tenants who shared one bathroom, one toilet, and a rotating schedule of grievances. The compound had a name nobody used. Everyone just called it the yard. The yard had rules, and those rules were enforced by Mama Bello, a stout woman in her 50s who wore the same blue wrapper every morning and treated the bathroom queue like a military operation. If you missed your slot, you waited. If you complained, you waited longer. If you tried to negotiate, Mama Bello would look at you the way a judge looks at someone who has already been found guilty, and then she would look away, which was somehow worse. Dami had missed her slot this particular morning because she had been editing photos from the previous night, brightening the shadows, smoothing her skin, adding a fake wash of sunlight across a fake apartment that was actually a hotel toilet she had snuck into 48 hours earlier. By the time she surfaced from her phone, Mama Bello had already called her name twice and moved on. Standing at the back of the queue in her wrapper, sunglasses hiding the sleeplessness in her eyes, Dami ran through the day's schedule in her head. Meet Zainab and Chisholm at Woods Junction by 11. Get to the restaurant in Maitama before the lunch crowd arrived. Order water. Take photos. Leave. Simple. She had done it 20 times before. What she did not know, could not have known, standing barefoot on that cracked compound floor with Mama Bellows occasionally finding her from the front of the queue, was that today was the day the whole thing would begin to fall apart. The Soft Life sisters had a system. It had been refined over 18 months of trial and error, embarrassment, and one near disaster involving a security guard in Wustu who had asked too many questions about why 3 women had been sitting at the same table for 40 minutes ordering nothing but water. Zainab handled the bags. She had 2 structured handbags that photographed like they cost 400,000 naira each, and she rotated them with the strategic precision of someone managing a small portfolio. Chisholm handled the shoes. She had 3 pairs of heels in different heights and colors and knew instinctively which pair suited which location. Dami handled the narrative. The captions, the angles, the timing, the story that tied everything together into a life that looked aspirational without looking effortful. They dressed at home, traveled by bus and Okada, changed shoes at the restaurant entrance, and walked in like they arrived by car. Inside, they would find a table with good light, order the cheapest item on the menu, and spend 45 minutes creating content that suggested board meetings and business lunches and the kind of unbothered wealth that did not need to announce itself. Today's location was a restaurant on Aminukono Crescent. The kind of place where still water cost 9,500 naira a bottle and the wait staff wore iron black shirts. The kind of place where Dami's monthly rent could cover lunch for 2, if you ordered modestly. They walked in. The hostess looked at them with the particular expression of someone trained not to make assumptions. Dami looked back with the particular expression of someone who had learned to weaponize confidence. They were shown to a table near the window. Good light. Perfect. Slowly, Dami murmured to Chisholm as the water arrived. Pour it like you're not thinking about it. Chisholm poured slowly. Zainab angled her bag against the chair so the logo caught the light. Dami raised her phone. Don't smile yet, she said. Look out the window first. Like you just remembered something good. They worked like a small production crew. Zainab found herself with a blank envelope she had brought specifically for this purpose, the universal gesture of a woman exhausted from deals and decisions. Chisholm made a phone call to nobody, speaking in a low deliberate voice about a contract and a Q3 projection and getting back to the team. Dami captured all of it, moving the phone through angles with the quiet focus of a director who knows exactly what story she is telling. And here is the thing, she was good at it. Genuinely, undeniably good. The photos from that afternoon were extraordinary. The light fell on Zainab's bag like it had been hired. Chisholm's fanning gesture looked like the cover of a business magazine. And Dami herself, in the photos she asked a passing waiter to take, looked like a woman who had built something real and was enjoying the quiet reward of it. There was an art to what she did. In a different life, in a different set of circumstances, it might have been called talent. By the time they left, they were 28,000 naira lighter and had not eaten anything. Outside, Zainab's stomach growled audibly. Nobody laughed. They had done this too many times for it to be funny anymore. That evening, Dami posted 9 photos with the caption, Business Lunch. FCT moves only. Consistency is everything. Within 2 hours, 3,000 people had liked it. 14 had asked for her mentorship. One person had commented, "Auntie, you're my prayer point." Another had written, "This is the life I'm manifesting." Godwin. Dami read every comment. Then she ate a half portion of rice she bought from the woman at the junction for 300 naira and went to sleep on a mattress that had started developing a dip on the left side. This was her life. All of it. Both versions. The borrowed inventory was extensive and carefully managed. Fatima's wig, a lace front that cost 180,000 naira and had been borrowed so many times it had practically moved in with Dami. Zainab's structured bags, rotated strategically so no single bag appeared too frequently on the page. Chisholm's block heels, half a size too small, which was why Dami always sat down in photos and never walked anywhere that required more than 20 steps. There was also the birthday cake. 2 months earlier, a neighbor had bought a small celebration cake for her daughter. Dami had knocked on the door, borrowed the cake for just 5 minutes, taken 30 photos with it, and returned it before the candles were lit. The caption had read, "Another year of God's faithfulness. I am deeply grateful." 4,000 likes. 12 saved. A DM from a bakery asking if she'd like to collaborate. She had not responded to the bakery. She was afraid they'd ask her to come in. Alhaji Su knocked on her door on a Tuesday. He always knocked the same way, 3 slow deliberate taps, like a man who had all the time in the world and was going to use it. He was a compact man in his 60s with a white cap he wore slightly tilted and an expression that communicated, without words, that he had heard every excuse that had ever been invented and was not interested in hearing new ones. 3 months, he said. Alhaji, 3 months, he said again. Not angry. Just stating a fact, the way you state the weather. I have something coming. I have a brand deal that is almost. He looked at her. The look was not unkind. It was something worse than unkind, it was accurate. Your Instagram cannot pay me, he said. And he left. Dami stood in her doorway for a long time after he turned the corner. She thought about her Instagram page. She thought about the 47,000 people who believed she lived in a serviced apartment in Maitama. She thought about the comments. Goals. Inspiration. Woman of God. Soft life queen. She went back inside and opened her editing app. Fatima had been patient for a long time. Fatima was, by nature, a patient person. She prayed consistently, kept her space clean, and generally believed that most human beings were doing their best. But she had limits. Everyone has limits, and Fatima had finally found hers on a Wednesday afternoon when she needed her wig for a function and discovered it was, once again, sitting on a foam stand in Dami's room. Dami. She said her name the way you say the name of someone you are about to have a serious conversation with. Not a greeting. A beginning. I need the wig back. I'll return it tomorrow, I just need it for. You said tomorrow 3 weeks ago. Fatima sat down. This was not a standing in the doorway conversation. When does this become real? When does any of what you're posting become actual money? Actual anything? Dami opened her mouth. Closed it. The usual deflections assembled themselves in her mind, the brand deals that were almost confirmed, the following that was still growing, the plan that was almost a plan, but looking at Fatima's face, she could not deploy any of them. Fatima was not asking out of cruelty. She was asking because she was genuinely concerned, genuinely tired, and genuinely correct. I have a system, Dami said finally. Your system is borrowed, Fatima said. She stood up, collected the wig from its stand with the quiet authority of someone reclaiming what was always theirs. At the door she paused. I'm not angry with you, Dami. I'm just tired of watching this. She left. After she left, Dami sat very still in her small room. The ceiling fan turned unevenly, creating a rhythm that was almost but not quite regular. The walls were their usual thin self. She could hear her neighbor's television, another neighbor's evening prayer, the distant sound of Mama Bello adjudicating some compound dispute with her characteristic blend of authority and impatience. She picked up her phone, opened her Instagram, scrolled through her own page like a stranger encountering it for the first time. Who was this woman? Where did she live? What did she eat? What did she worry about at 11 o'clock at night when the generator went off and the room became hot and the fan stopped turning and the silence of the compound pressed in from all sides? She put the phone face down on the mattress and stared at the ceiling for a long time. She told herself she was fine. She was not fine. The FCTA bus was crowded in the way that Abuja buses are always crowded, bodies pressed together by necessity, the air thick and warm, everyone managing their own discomfort in their own private way. Dami had a window seat, which was something. She pressed her forehead against the glass and watched the city move past, the gleaming towers of the central district giving way to the dustier, more honest outskirts, the Abuja that did not appear on anyone's Instagram page. She had not eaten since the previous morning. This was not unusual. Content days were expensive, and after paying her share of the restaurant bills, there was rarely money left for food. She had learned to manage hunger the way you learn to manage any recurring inconvenience, by not thinking about it directly, by staying busy, by keeping the phone in her hand so there was always something between her and the reality of an empty stomach. If you have ever run yourself into the ground for an image, kept watching. Because what happens next on this bus is the moment everything begins to change. The bus lurched at a pothole. Someone's elbow found her ribs. The heat intensified. And then, quietly and without any of the drama the moment deserved, everything went dark. She came back to the sound of a woman's voice saying "Madam, madam," and the sensation of cool air being fanned across her face. She was lying half across the seat. Someone had forced the window further open above her. A man near the front was saying they should stop the bus. A child 2 rows back was staring at her with the wide, unguarded curiosity that only children and very honest adults allow themselves. "Drink," the woman said, pressing a bottle of cold water into her hand. Dami drank. The world reassembled itself slowly, piece by piece, the way it does when your body has been pushed past a boundary it set a long time ago and you chose not to listen to. "When did you last eat?" the woman asked. Dami tried to remember. "Yesterday," she said. "Morning." The woman clicked her tongue, not with judgment, with something older and more practical than judgment. She produced a meat pie from her bag, still warm, wrapped in a paper napkin, and put it in Dami's lap. "Eat first," she said firmly. "Whatever it is, eat first. Everything else can wait." Dami ate. The meat pie tasted extraordinary in the way that food always tastes extraordinary when your body is desperate for it. She finished it in 4 bites and felt the world become more solid around her, felt the bus become real again, felt the seat beneath her and the window against her shoulder and the city continuing outside as though nothing had interrupted it. The woman did not ask for her Instagram handle. She did not recognize her. She was just a stranger on a bus being kind to another stranger, with no audience and no camera and no caption. She would never know that the woman she had just fed had 47,000 followers and a page full of business lunches and soft life captions and marble floors that did not exist. And for some reason that Dami could not fully articulate, sitting on that bus with meat pie crumbs on her dress and a borrowed wig slightly askew from the fainting, that simple anonymous kindness undid something in her chest that had been wound very tight for a very long time. She did not cry. She wanted to. She pressed her forehead back against the window and breathed and watched Abuja pass by and thought about the woman's words, "Eat first, everything else can wait," and felt them land somewhere deeper than they were probably intended. That evening, she posted a throwback photo, herself at the Maitama restaurant 3 months earlier, looking polished and unbothered. Caption: "Growth is not always visible. Trust the process." 2,000 likes by midnight. She did not sleep well. The crack was there now. She could feel it. Small, hairline, almost invisible. But there. His name was Roland Adeyemi, and he followed her on a Thursday. Dami had received thousands of follows over the years and had developed a system for evaluating them in under 10 seconds, but or real, interested or browsing, useful or not. She applied this system to Roland's profile and stopped. The profile was quiet. No motivational quotes. No performative captions. No flat lays of designer items arranged on white surfaces. Just photos, an actual trip to Scotland, Wet heels and grey skies and a candid shot of Roland laughing at something outside the frame, the kind of laugh that cannot be staged because it reaches the eyes. A dinner with people who looked genuinely comfortable with each other, nobody performing for the camera. A book on a wooden table, half-read, with a cup of coffee that had gone cold beside it. Real, she thought. This person is actually real. He sent a DM that evening. Not the usual hello dear, you are very beautiful and I would like to know you better. Just, your energy is different. I can't tell if that's the content or you. Probably both. She stared at the message for a long time. Probably both was either very perceptive or very lucky, and either way it was the most accurate thing anyone had said to her in months. Because there was a real Dami underneath the performance, she knew that. A woman who liked meat pies from junction sellers and laughed too loudly at things that were not that funny and had opinions about Abuja's traffic that she had never posted because they were not aspirational. She had just stopped introducing that version of herself to anyone. She replied, it's mostly the content. But thank you. He replied, I doubt that. They talked for 9 days. Not flirtatiously, exactly, more like two people who are testing the weight of something before deciding whether to pick it up. Roland asked real questions. Not what do you do as a preamble to talking about himself, but actual questions that required actual answers. What did she think about Abuja's growth over the last decade? What was the last thing that genuinely surprised her? What did she want that she did not have yet? That last question she deflected. She was good at deflecting. But she noticed, during those 9 days, that she was tired after talking to Roland in a way she was not tired after talking to her followers. With her followers, she could perform. With Roland, she had to actually think. And thinking, she was discovering, was more exhausting than performing because you could not edit it after the fact. On the 10th day, he asked her to dinner. Somewhere in Asakoro. A real restaurant, not a content location. The difference, she had learned, was detectable within 30 seconds of walking in. She said yes before she finished reading the message. Then she put the phone down and sat very still in her small room with the ceiling fan turning unevenly above her, because she had just agreed to have dinner with a man who thought she lived in a serviced apartment in Maitama, and that dinner was in 4 days, and the wig was with Fatima who was currently not in a generous mood, and she had no idea how any of this was going to work. She borrowed everything. She always borrowed everything. But this time felt different. This time the borrowing felt less like preparation and more like constructing a defense. Fatima's wig, retrieved with promises and a sincerity that was at least partly genuine. Zainab's best bag, the one she usually reserved for events. Chisholm's block heels, the ones that were half a size too small but photographed beautifully. She rehearsed answers to likely questions in her bathroom mirror with the water running so nobody could hear her through the thin walls. What do you do for work? Content creation and brand consulting. Where do you live? I'm in that area, yes, near the Maitama axis. What are you working on currently? A few exciting projects I can't fully discuss yet. She practiced the answers until they sat in her mouth comfortably. She was good at this. She had been doing it for 2 years. Roland was already at the restaurant when she arrived, which meant she did not get the entrance, the walk across the room, the moment of being seen and assessed before sitting down. He stood when he saw her. He was taller than his photo suggested, with the kind of stillness that some people carry naturally, the ones who do not need a room's attention to feel comfortable in it. He was wearing a simple well-fitted navy shirt and looked like a man who had not worried about his outfit for more than 4 minutes. She had worried about hers for 4 days. You look exactly like your photos, he said. She smiled. People say that. It's a compliment. A lot of people don't. The dinner was exquisite and excruciating in equal measure. The food was extraordinary, she was genuinely hungry, which made everything taste more intense, and Roland was exactly as he had seemed across 9 days of conversation. Warm, curious, unhurried. He listened the way very few people listen, with his whole attention, not just the part of his brain that is waiting for its turn to speak. And that was precisely the problem. Every question required her to build a small additional structure of lies, and each structure had to be consistent with the previous one, and keeping track of the architecture was exhausting in a way that sat behind her eyes like a door pressure. She exaggerated her client list. She implied an apartment she did not have. She referenced a routine that belonged to a woman who did not exist. And Roland received each of these things with the focused attention of someone who was genuinely interested, which made each exaggeration feel worse than the last, not because he was suspicious but because he was not. His trust was the thing that made the lying unbearable. Then, near the end of the evening, comfortable and slightly warm from the food, he said it almost casually, "I'd love to see your place sometime. It looks really calm in your photos. Peaceful." The table seemed to tilt slightly. "I like to keep my personal space private," she said. Her voice stayed level. She was proud of that. "Of course," he said easily. "No pressure at all." He smiled and moved the conversation on, perfectly relaxed, genuinely unbothered. But she knew. The invitation was out there now, existing in the space between them, and no amount of smooth conversation could make it unexist. She smiled through the rest of the meal and laughed at the right moment and ordered dessert she did not finish, and the whole time in the back of her mind one thought sat with the patience of something that knows it will eventually be addressed. He wants to come to Dawaki. She left the restaurant alone. Roland had offered to drop her, but she had said she had somewhere to stop on the way, which was a lie, but it was the smallest lie she had told all evening, so she did not feel particularly bad about it. She stood outside on the pavement after his car pulled away and felt the night air on her face and did not move for a long time. The restaurant sounds filtered out through the glass behind her, cutlery, conversation, the particular hum of a room full of people enjoying themselves without complication. She stood outside it all, in her borrowed heels on a pavement in Asakoro, and felt the full weight of the evening settle onto her shoulders like something physical. He was going to ask again. She knew it the way you know things that have not happened yet but are already inevitable. And when he asked again, she would either tell the truth or construct something larger than anything she had constructed before, and she was tired. She had established that she was tired, and she was not sure she had another large construction left in her. She found a kiki heading toward the main road and climbed in, heels and borrowed bag and all, and rode through the Abuja night thinking about a question Roland had asked over dinner that she had answered smoothly at the time and had not been able to stop thinking about since. He had asked, "What do you want that you don't have yet?" And she had said something polished about brand growth and creative direction, and she could not even remember the exact words because they had not meant anything, they had just been the right shape to fill the space where an honest answer would have gone. But sitting in the kiki with the night air on her face, she knew what the honest answer was. She wanted to stop. She wanted to stop pretending. She wanted to stop calculating. She wanted to eat a full meal without checking whether the restaurant was content-worthy first. She wanted to wake up in the morning and miss the bathroom queue for a legitimate reason, not because she had been awake until 2 a.m. editing photographs of a sink that did not belong to her. She wanted to introduce herself to someone as the person she actually was and have that be enough. She wanted to stop. And she did not know how. The kiki turned onto a darker road. The city thinned out around her. She was going home to Dawaki, to the yard, to the mattress with the dip on the left side, and tomorrow Roland would message her, and she still did not know what she was going to do. She did not sleep. She lay on her mattress, the one with the dip on the left side, and stared at the ceiling and had a conversation with herself that lasted until almost 3 in the morning. The ceiling fan turned unevenly. The walls carried the sounds of the compound around her, someone's late-night phone call conducted in urgent whispers, the distant sound of a generator 2 streets over, the particular quality of silence that settles over Mama Bello's end of the yard after 10 p.m., as though even the air knows better than to disturb her. Tell him the truth. You don't know him well enough for the truth. He seems like someone who can handle the truth. Everyone seems like that before you tell them. That is how truth works. It waits until you have decided someone is safe and then it shows you whether you were right. What is the worst that happens? He disappears. He tells someone. He looks at you the way Alhaji Sul looked at you, with that accurate, unbothered disappointment that is somehow more devastating than anger because anger at least acknowledges that you mattered enough to upset someone. And if you keep lying, then you keep lying. Then dinner becomes visits and visits become a relationship and the whole thing becomes a building constructed on sand, and one day, not dramatically, not all at once, but one ordinary Tuesday, it collapses, and you are standing in the rubble trying to explain to someone who trusted you why the foundation was always wrong and you knew it and said nothing. She turned onto her side. You are tired, she told herself. Not as a diagnosis. As a fact. She was tired. Not just tonight tired or hunger tired. She was tired in the way that goes deeper than sleep can reach, tired of the hotel lobbies and the borrowed wigs and the careful angles and the bathroom queue and the captions about growth and gratitude for a life she was not living. She was tired of performing for 47,000 people who did not know her name was Dami and that she liked meat pies from junction sellers and that she had once fainted on a public bus and been fed by a stranger and that the most accurate thing anyone had said to her in months was your energy is different and she had deflected it because she was no longer sure which energy was even real. She was tired of not knowing which version of herself was true. Outside, the compound was quiet. The fan turned. The walls breathed. She got up, went to the bathroom, Mama Bello's jurisdiction, empty at this hour, and washed her face with cold water and looked at herself in the small mirror above the basin. No filter. No editing app. No fake sunlight carefully placed to suggest a life that did not belong to her. Just her face, plain and tired and completely, uncomplicatedly real. She looked at it for a long time. Then she went back to her room and texted Roland the real address. Dawaki. The yard. Compound number 14. She pressed send before she could change her mind, put the phone face down, and lay back on the mattress with the dip on the left side and waited for morning with the particular stillness of someone who has just jumped and is now simply falling. Roland arrived at 10 in the morning. He had replied to her text with 2 words, see you, no questions, no hesitation, which was either very reassuring or very frightening, and she had gone back and forth on which interpretation to believe approximately 40 times before she finally got up and got dressed. She met him at the gate. No wig. No borrowed bag. Chisholm's heels were back in their bag in the corner of her room. She was wearing her own clothes, simple, unperformed, hers. Her natural hair was loose around her face in a way she had not allowed anyone to see since she started building the page. She had considered, briefly, at least doing her makeup. She had decided against it. If she was doing this, she was doing it completely. He looked at her. Then at the compound behind her. She watched him take it in, the narrow entrance, the shared outdoor space, the bathroom door with its slightly broken hinge, the plastic chairs arranged in the informal social geometry of communal living, the thin walls that held 9 people's lives and let all of their sounds through. She watched his face move through something she could not quite name, not shock, not pity, something more like careful recalibration. She said nothing. This was the truth. He could do what he wanted with it. He stepped inside. They sat in her room on the only 2 chairs she owned, facing each other across a small table. The ceiling fan turned. Through the window she could hear the compound's morning sounds assembling themselves, a radio, someone filling a bucket, the distant authoritative tones of Mama Bello beginning her daily management of the yard. "How long?" Roland asked. 2 years, she said. "Almost." He was quiet for a moment. Not an uncomfortable silence, a thinking silence, the kind that means something is being genuinely considered rather than just waited out. "Why not just grow slowly?" he asked. It was such a simple question. She had expected anger, or the particular cold withdrawal of someone who felt deceived and was deciding how to punish it. She had not expected a question that sounded almost like genuine curiosity, like someone trying to understand rather than judge. "Because slow doesn't get followers," she said. "Because nobody shares content about trying. Because the algorithm rewards the life people want, not the life people have." She stopped. Looked at the table. "Because I wanted to matter. And this was the fastest way I could find to feel like I did." Roland looked at her for a long time. "You matter," he said. It was not a reassurance. It was just a fact, delivered the way he delivered most things, quietly, without performance. "That's not the problem." He stood up. "The problem is you've been mattering as someone else." He left shortly after. Not coldly, there was no door slamming, no final cutting remark, no dramatic exit speech. He left with the same unhurried calm he had walked in with, pausing at the door just long enough to say he would be in touch. His footsteps crossed the compound. She heard the gate. Then silence. She sat in it. She picked up her phone. The photo she posted that evening was not edited. She had not brightened it or smoothed it or added fake sunlight. It showed her room exactly as it was, the mattress with the dip on the left side, the small table, the window with its mesh screen, the compound visible through the open door behind her. She looked tired. She looked real. She looked, for the first time in 2 years of posting, like herself. The caption took her 45 minutes to write. She deleted it 3 times. She almost posted something else on top of it, a throwback, a quote, anything to bury what she had written before anyone could see it. Her thumb hovered over the delete button for a full minute at one point. She could feel her heart the way you can only feel it when something actually matters. She posted it. "This is where I actually live. I've been showing you a life I was borrowing. The bags, the wigs, the restaurants, none of it was mine. I was hungry while I posted about business lunches. I was behind on rent while I captioned about God's blessings. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I'm tired. Maybe because someone recently asked me why I didn't just grow slowly, and I didn't have a good answer. I'm starting from here. The real here. If you stay, thank you. If you don't, I understand." She put the phone face down. She made tea. She sat outside in the compound in the evening air and listened to the yard do what it always did, the televisions and the prayers and the distant generator and the sounds of 9 people living their real, unfiltered lives in close proximity to each other. Mama Bello passed her on the way to the bathroom and gave her the nod, not warm, not cold, just the acknowledgement of one person's continued existence by another. It was, Dami thought, the most honest form of greeting she had received in a long time. She did not pick up the phone for 2 hours. The longest 2 hours she could remember. When she finally turned it over, her hands were slightly unsteady. She had to refresh 3 times before the notifications resolved. 14,000 new followers in 2 hours. The comments were not what she had braced for. Not mockery. Not the gleeful pylon of an internet that had caught someone performing. Instead, something that felt almost overwhelming in its scale and its sincerity, thousands of people recognizing themselves in her honesty, thousands of people exhaling alongside her. This is the most real thing I have seen on this app in years. I'm sitting in my own compound reading this and crying. I thought I was the only one faking it. Thank you for saying this out loud. God bless you. Real one. Stay. A voice note from Zainab, 30 seconds long, Dami. I saw the post. I think I need to post mine too. A pause. We should talk. A voice note from Chisholm, slightly longer, that ended with her laughing in the way she laughed when something was both funny and true, the birthday cake post though. We really did that. A message from Fatima, 42 seconds, that began with a long exhale and then, I always knew you were doing too much. I should have said it better. I'm sorry I wasn't more patient. Welcome back. A DM from a lifestyle brand, we have been looking for authentic voices. Your page in the last 3 hours is exactly what we mean. Can we talk? And at the very bottom of the notifications, almost buried under everything else, a message from Roland. 3 words. That was brave. She read it 4 times. Then she put the phone down and sat very still in her small room and felt something she had not felt in so long she had almost forgotten it was possible, the specific, uncomplicated peace of not having anything to maintain. What happened next happened the way good things happen when they are finally moving in the right direction, not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily and with gathering momentum. The brand deal came through in 6 weeks. A lifestyle company that wanted exactly what Dami was now offering, a real person in a real place, speaking to the real experience of millions of Nigerians who were also, in their own ways, managing the distance between the life they had and the life they were performing. The deal was not enormous. It was enough. Then Dami filmed Mama Bello. It was a Tuesday morning. The queue. The blue wrapper. The absolute sovereign authority with which Mama Bello managed 8 adults who were all at least 20 years younger than her and none of whom had ever successfully argued with her about anything. Dami filmed it from the back of the queue, phone low, and posted it that Wednesday evening with the caption, "The woman who runs this yard with an iron wrapper. All hail Mama Bello of Dawaki." By Friday morning, 2,100,000 views. Mama Bello, informed of her viral status by 3 separate neighbors in the space of one afternoon, received the news with the composure of someone who had always suspected the world would eventually recognize what she already knew about herself. She told Dami she was willing to be filmed again. This time in better light. Dami filmed everything after that. The junction meat pie woman whose pies had, on one particular afternoon, saved her life more literally than the woman knew. The Okada ride to Woods where the driver had opinions about Abuja's traffic that were more incisive than most political commentary she had read that year. The creative logistics of making a small room feel livable and dignified, the specific arrangement of a few good things in a small space, the discovery that limitation, approach with intention, has its own aesthetic. She talked about the borrowed wigs and the stage launches with the directness of someone who had already paid the full price of dishonesty and found, somewhat to her surprise, that it cost considerably more than honesty ever had. Her following grew faster in 3 weeks of truth than it had in 2 years of fiction. Zainab posted her own confession 3 weeks after Dami's. Chisholm held out for 2 months and then posted hers on a Sunday evening with the caption, "My friend jumped first and the water was fine. Here is my truth." The Soft Life sisters, it turned out, were considerably more interesting when they were real. Their combined following tripled in the month after their confessions. They still met on Saturdays. They still dressed well. But they took the bus without hiding it now, and they ordered food when they were hungry, and the content they made was better than anything they had ever staged because it had the one ingredient no filter can add, it was actually true. A second brand deal came through. Then a third. A media company in Lagos reached out about a podcast, something about real stories from real Nigerian women, something that did not require a filter. A university in Abuja's communications department invited her to speak to their final year students about authenticity, audience building, and the specific mathematics of what happens when you stop performing and start connecting. She moved out of the yard 8 months later. Not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually, the way real things happen, 1 month savings, then another, then a deposit, then a key. She packed on a Saturday morning, which was the same morning as the bathroom queue, and she joined it one last time and stood at the back and thought about all the mornings she had stood in this same spot pretending to be somewhere else entirely. She said goodbye to Mama Bello at the compound gate. Mama Bello straightened Dami's collar, which she had never done before, and told her not to let success make her a stranger to the truth. Then she went back inside to adjudicate something, and that was that. Dami did not delete the old post. They stayed on her page as a record, a before, the thing she had been before she got tired enough to be honest. Sometimes new followers found them and sent her messages asking if they were real, and she always said yes, completely, and explained exactly how each one had been made, and those explanations, the hotel lobby, the borrowed birthday cake, the water poured slowly into a wine glass, consistently became her most shared content. She never borrowed Fatima's wig again. She bought her own. A good one, expensive, entirely hers, which she wore when she wanted to and left on its stand when she did not. The last thing she posted on the night her following crossed 100,000 was a photo of the yard at dusk, the compound, the plastic chairs, the bathroom door with its slightly broken hinge catching the last of the evening light, the whole humble, honest, load-bearing architecture of the life she had started from. No caption about soft life. No aspirational quotes. No filter. Just, still here. Still real. Still growing. 2 hours later, Roland liked it. She was sitting on the floor of her new apartment, surrounded by boxes she had not yet unpacked, eating a meat pie she had bought from a woman at the junction near her new street, a different junction, a different woman, but the same meat pie, the same reliability of something simple and real and warm. She saw the notification. She smiled at her phone in the dark, and the smile arrived on her face the way things arrive when they are not being performed for anyone, suddenly, completely, without warning. It was just hers. Dami's 100,000 followers did not come from the marble floors. They came from the cracked compound wall. Your real life is not the obstacle. It is the story. If this found something true in you, share it with one person who needs to hear it today. And if you are somewhere between the life you have and the life you are performing, you already know what to do.